we will call the meeting to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda other than the one I just said? 1 and 4 we'll put an accent. Anyone else have anything? No. And I do have one more camera as well for. All right. Hearing nothing else, can you get approval for the agenda, please?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Good start.
Dealer's
Get
choice.
to get that for him.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting of February 3rd, 2025. Any questions on that? If not, we will accept the report as presented. Moving on to January 27th, council report. Anybody have any errors there from anyone? Special meeting? No, that one looks good too. All right. And we'll do that one as, accept that as presented as well.
We're doing consensus then.
Business Horizon, letter of support for the curling club. And I think these are the letters that Tom sent, correct, Tom?
Yeah.
All right, and a letter for the arena. So those are in the package. You already saw them anyway. Moving on to reports. Maybe I can find it. All right, my report. I was busy this month as well as before. Not really too much to highlight other than CBC is coming for the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. They're doing a story on housing in the Digby area, and be over at the Siesta. I plan to take them around town to see the developments that we've already approved, like the Victoria Street one. I mean, those are development agreements we've already approved. And getting the navigator talking with Digby about doctor recruitment as well, and Tieview about they both have apartments that they have to use for bringing doctors in. So I ran that by the foundation first to see if we could do that, and they said by all means.
I think they're interviewing Brian Manzer.
And we're doing a tour of Brian's on Wednesday. So there's a resident moving into his place, and they're interviewing her at her home in Barton Tuesday. And then interviewing Brian the next day.
Just next Tuesday and Wednesday, or this week?
This week.
This week.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
Next
and the
day.
next day.
Yeah.
Okay, what time is the tour?
They're going to Brian's at 4 o'clock, and if anyone's interested, we're going to Siesta at 12. So yeah, Siesta at 12.
Okay, do we not have the DDA is at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, is it not?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Everyone knows about the arena now, I assume. The arena's closed for the season now. Had a cruise Zoom call. Looks like cruise may be coming back to Digby. There's some interested people in the cruise ships back. Council Foot and I met over the trade show. We had that ready for the executive committee, so that's all lined up for April 24th. Legends of Hockey, for those that don't know it, that's been postponed until next fall due to the arena being closed.
Can I ask a question on the arena? How much more time did we have left in the operating season for it?
Right till the 28th.
Almost.
The Legends of Hockey was on the 28th.
Okay.
Resident asked me for a green card. That, attended 5U, Oceans 11, Waste Check, Executive Committee, nominated committee, Water Commission, and DAC. So that's.
Question, but
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, Mr. Chair, so the arena again, that is closed for the rest of the season?
Due to mechanical difficulties.
There's no ice for the rest of the season.
No,
Well,
there's no
yeah.
ice anyway.
No ice for this.
No ice, yeah. All right, so we'll move on, if there's no other questions, to the CAO report.
Okay. To highlight, my highlights are, UARB, planning appeal for development agreement. So the preliminary hearing in relation to the appellant standing as agreed parties will be heard for the board via teleconference on Wednesday, March 5th, which is tomorrow at 9:30 via teleconference. Other planning appeals, we have received official notification from the NSUARB that there are no appeals that have been filed for the development agreement with the DB Area Housing Coalition or the rezoning on King Street for Robin Parks. The development agreement with DB Area Housing Coalition is being prepared for execution and registering with the Registry of Deeds. I'll be contacting you probably tomorrow, Nancy. Okay. Committee, CEO committee, Valley Waste. There were no meetings that I was made aware of that were held during February. Extended producer responsibility, circular materials offer. Nova Scotia's transition to extended producer responsibility starts on December 1st, 2025. Circular Materials is representing brand owners obligated by the Packaging Paper Products and Packaging Label Products Materials Management Standards under the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act. Circular Materials has sent out offers to municipal units concerning the offer that would be considered if municipal units use the opt-in service model, where in our case, the town will continue managing current recycling contract. The payment would be provided by Circular Materials based on a cost per stop. The town will manage customer service under the current contract, and the town would continue to manage promotions and education with support from Circular Materials and the top-up will be provided for the P&E and contract administration. Circular Materials offer to the town is for compensation for 974 stops for a term from December 5th or December 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028 with two one-year extension options. Compensation for P&E will be based on a per stop per year. I've reviewed the offer and have spoken to a representative of Circular Materials who has responded via email to the concerns I had identified. House caps can be adjusted quarterly, and there is an annual CPI adjustment. Our collection contract with DP Salvage and Disposal expires on March 31st, 2026. I discussed the possibility of extending our current collection contract to match the circular materials offer. In a phone discussion with DP Salvage and Disposal, they indicated they would be agreeable to discuss an extension of the existing contract. A meeting will be scheduled in the next couple of weeks with DP Salvage and Disposal to discuss the extension of the contract in more detail. The next steps with, concerning the offer, they want us to confirm by February 28th, by 5 Atlantic Standard Time. Final council approval is required by Friday, May 16th, 2025. Agreement execution timeline to be determined. I've confirmed acceptance of the offer, and more detailed agreement will be forthcoming for presentation to council for discussion and approval. Based on what I understand from the other units in our region and the Waste Check region, the only one that I know that is not going to opt in is the town of Yarmouth. And the other ones that I've heard from is all been opting in. Some are, the district of Digby hasn't made their decision yet. They're still hammering out. They're in a different situation than a lot of the other units are in a different situation. Is their collection contracts are up this year, March 31st, 2025. So they're into new pricing. We're going to be in the new pricing, but that's why if we can extend it, we may have more control over the price increase than if we went to tender.
So when we move into this EPR, everything will stay the same for us. Greg will pick everything up.
Greg,
And then the EPR people just send us a check when it stops, right?
Yeah, they reimburse us for the collection costs based on that agreement. And nothing, as far as the general public is concerned, nothing will change, right? The only difference is that the only change that the ratepayers should see or likely see is probably a reduction in the garbage collection rate, because whatever we get from them will come off of the costs. So we have to collect. So anything that we get will come off of our collection costs.
So can we use that money for green cards for the resident? Because the resident doesn't really pay for them, right?
The resident pays for it. Yes, they pay for them through that garbage rate. As the cost of green cards is included in that garbage rate.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? So
When we replace them, though, they're not paying for a new one.
Right.
But they constantly have that fee every year.
Well, they pay every year. They pay for their garbage rate, garbage collection rate, and that includes the supply of green cards if needed. If they're a brand new thing, we give them a green card. If the green card gets damaged, we replace it. Whether it be new or old, usually they're new, because we have to take them and see if we can have them repaired before we can put them back in circulation.
That's actually a question that because Tom and I were talking about that, just a question for Waste Check. We supply a green bin to a resident, that's paid for, great. Now, something happens to it, they collect that green bin and they give them a new one, which we are charged for. What if the one that they had only needs a new top and they put back into service? Whereas it's like me trading in an old car. I got no value for the old car, yet it still had value.
It's not, the only thing, since we, I talked about that, the only thing that came to my mind is Waste check comes in and switches it out,
Yes,
then that's exactly, but if ours goes up to the,
Ed Dyson here.
right.
it takes them up to Public Works.
Right.
And if we send them to get them repaired, they bring them back,
Right.
repaired.
But we have no control, because most of the residents will call waste check.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way it is for everybody, but that's what I've been trying to,
Educate the public on it.
well, and I've been trying to educate Waste Check
Yeah.
as well, is because,
Well,
they
would
don't have, they haven't got authorization. They may from the other units, but from the town of Digby, they don't have
It's our property,
authorization.
Yeah.
That's we buy the cards, right? So does every other unit, but every other unit just wants Waste Check to look after it for them, they don't wanna bother with it, right? We look after our own because, and I think the village, or the town of Yarmouth does the same thing, right? In fact, when the green cards first came out, town of Yarmouth bought their own green cards, right? So, well, I think it's since been all brought into, but, you're right, there is a value, some cards are absolutely junk, there's nothing left. You know, all they do is rot parts off them, right? If there's any good parts, they'll strip the good parts off them and use them to repair a repairable card, and then it can be put back into circulation. But, for the most part, the original cards that were bought, huh?
1997.
Well, thereabouts, yeah. They've been in service for well over 20 years. And, well, some of them was done well, but the thing is that those cards, because of the vents that are in them and the flapper in the bottom, that tends to get, especially in the wintertime, freezes, and then it gets dumped in the truck and disappears. And, but rodents, it attracts rodents, because rodents can access them too easily.
Yeah.
The other ones with the round bottoms and stuff, they don't.
But they're the ones
Can,
that tend to freeze.
basically, they don't freeze as hard, I don't think, because of the round, even if they do, they'll slide out easy. Because it's a round.
Get one at the house, I'll show you that I can't get out.
Okay. In theory, then not,
Yeah.
right? But,
Stone or two.
Pour some water in it, morning up.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. It works.
Because the liners, newspaper, I mean, it's been so cold this winter
Yeah.
too.
So I think at the last meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they say they were getting rid of most of that junky green cards down there because we have to possibly move buildings? There won't be enough room for a lot of stuff. Did they say that?
yeah, well, there's a lot.
Exactly, I can't remember that, but they're doing something.
Yeah, they're doing something with the old green cards, they talked about it.
Who are you talking about, Public Works or
Check.
Waste Check?
Waste Check, exactly.
They got a whole.
Yeah, we buy them through Waste Check.
But you're saying they're getting rid of some of the old ones that aren't
Yeah.
repairable, or?
Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of parts and stuff that they just.
Yeah. And those old carts that were awkward, the big old carts, the big ones that were awkward to navigate, a lot of, seniors like me can't, maneuver them very well. And, the newer carts, the smaller carts that we've got are easier to maneuver as well.
So that's something we could put on the plate for the trade shows to tell people where to swap their green cards out. Maybe
Call the
use
town
like
instead of Waste Check?
springtime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some that'll call us, and then there's some that call, and the thing is, we know the ones that we ship out. And because we keep track of them, and we order 25 cards or something at a time, and stockpile them up there, so we know we bought 25 cards. We have no way how many, there's no reconciliation that comes with the bill on the green cards, unfortunately. So,
So when Waste Check exchanges a cart, they send town of Digby a bill for that exchange?
Yep. For the car, the
Yeah.
actual cost of the car.
Yeah. So, can they be asked to, if it's a town of Digby, just to forward the message to us?
They have been asked.
Oh, they haven't been.
I can bring
I
up.
kinda thought they might have been.
Yeah, they have been asked.
Yeah,
If people ask me, I get hold of Dan.
Yeah.
I do, and get a switch for you, Dan, right?
So that, yeah, I mean, really, the protocol that should be anybody, whether the council or anybody on the street, says, well, how do we gonna do that? They should call the town hall. Just tell them to call here, we put a work order through.
Right.
And that way we have a record that on such and such a date, this person at such and such a civic address requested a green card. And it's out there and we've got a full record of it, right? And, you know, just trying to keep things so that we can at least keep a little bit of order in the green cards as to where they are. Because we have 25 green cards and this week and next week we had none. Where did they go, right?
And the businesses, they pay separate, so they'd have to call Waste Check directly. I just bought one for $96.
Can we make a motion to make a newsletter for that? On the town, Stephen?
You can put it in this newsletter next month, especially now that winter's over, can't dump your old one out or it's broken. Call the town hall for your new green card.
maybe you better word that if it's broken, if you can't dump them out,
Yeah.
you're gonna have an awful lot of cars.
Oh, yeah.
You may look up,
Switch them.
in that newsletter, maybe you could talk to Waste Check about whether it's okay to put water in, and maybe in the spring you could give people a tip on how to get things moving out of their car.
Mm.
Maybe Waste Check could advise us on that.
Yeah, we could. We can bring that up next meeting. Yeah. We will do that.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
So, next item is the municipal code of conduct, qualified investigators. So, the Association of Municipal Administrators has completed its RFQ exercise in developing a list of qualified investigators to support municipal units and villages in meeting their obligations under the updated municipal code of conduct. So the list and relevant contact information is on the AMA website, and it's important to note that AMA&S has not entered into either a contract or an agreement with any of the qualified investigators. Investigators included on the list have been vetted through our RFQ process, and it will be the municipal unit's responsibility when determining an appropriate investigator, as well as facilitating the process of entering into any contract or agreement. Should you choose to use an investigator from the list, municipal units should also consider potential internal conflicts of interest if they choose to select a qualified investigator from the list. So, our lawyer, the town and municipal lawyer, is on that list. So that means it would be a conflict of interest for us to use it, right? But he's on the list, and but as far as us, I assume it'd be depending on what the offense was. But if it was an offense that could end up in court or down the road, then it wouldn't be good for our lawyer to be the investigator, because we would have to then
Find someone else?
we would have to find somebody else to defend us.
Right.
So we would rather have our lawyer defend us and find somebody else to do the investigation.
That's a good idea. Something to say.
That's all I had to say.
pass that committee of the whole. What are your wishes with that? That'd be under operating budget, right, Tom?
So, yeah, that's the funding request for executive director, that the one?
Yeah.
All right, so I would say that yes, it's gonna have to be, any, any funding would come out of our operating, so it would be something for council to.
Yeah, budget time, that budget time would probably be, the best time to look at it. And by that point in time, maybe we know a little bit more about, building and, where the process is for that. And although, understand the need for it at this point, being a little bit further along in the process, at least for the first, larger development for them, would probably be a good spot to be in before we make a decision on spending that sum of money for a role. And I believe it's been said before too, we will have to consider, if you're looking at funding a director for one nonprofit, then, there are considerations of our other ones going to, ask for a similar sort of situation. So have to be careful in terms of how we make a decision. So even if it's a decision in the affirmative down the road, what's the reason for it if we do it? And it has to be very clear for the public.
All right.
So is that a motion to send it to finance?
Motion to send it to finance, okay. Motion to send it to finance by Deputy Mayor, and seconder. Seconder, Councilor Weir, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is a remote camera access upgrading for the video surveillance system through Langcare.
And this one came about because of the fact that Laura Lee was, the system was down over a weekend or something like that. Seems like it's a relatively affordable cost, and I would assume we'd look to see if there's any other solution for it. And if not, I'd be comfortable making a motion that we, pay that, one-time cost of $646 plus the annual cost was about $150.
Yeah.
Make that motion.
Seconder?
A second.
Councilor Weir. Any other questions?
Yep.
Tom? Yeah.
Is there an ongoing monitoring cost?
It's $150 a year, wasn't it?
I think it's about $150 a year.
$150 a year.
It just wasn't listed in the report.
Yeah, it was listed in the material we had for the
Somewhere.
last meeting, but I don't see it, I don't see it.
Was that what just?
So a yearly fee of it's in the notes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Just a question on the discussion, sorry, Mr. Chair. Do we use Langdale Security for most things? Or, I thought we did, so it's good to keep going there. Local person and so on.
Stay consistent. Did you have a question, Tom?
Just wanted to know whether, we have to look at what we have in this operating budget,
Right.
if not, this approval, move into 25-26's operating budget. So, because we're so close to, we're within a month to
Yeah.
year end, right?
So would you rather send it to the budget or?
No, it doesn't have, it doesn't, I mean, the dollar figure, all I'm saying is, if, I guess if we don't have enough money to pay for it in 24, 25,
Right.
we may have to move it into the 25-26 budget.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right. Any other
The
questions?
council good with that, that's what I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Everyone good? All in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Letter to America. I was actually talking to Karen today, and
did it. I think the deadline was last Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, they did it, and the responses are coming back very in favor of
Yeah.
it, so.
Now, the one side of that, I think they did it still with the hope that we would consider, help with funding.
Right.
I believe the municipality has tentatively approved their share, providing we approve our share. So we get the ultimate decision on, how this, sort of goes, cause if we say no, then, well, then, the municipality says no too. You know, that being said, from
You
my
know,
perspective. Oh, go ahead.
That's pure and simple blackmail.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Put
say,
it out there,
No, that's what
took
it is.
Trumping us.
blackmail from,
And they
took
did it.
that out of Trump's playbook, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. And it's not the first time that they've done it either. And I think that they should make their own independent decisions,
Yeah.
and we make ours.
Let's give them 25%.
So what were they asking for?
Yeah.
1,200?
So I'm looking for right now on that.
It depends, are we splitting it three
US.
ways or two?
Don't know, but I guess my only comment on that is,
It's already done.
it's already done.
It's already
What do you want
done.
from us?
Is there a request for grants from them as well?
There is.
So let's,
Grants
can we move it to
organizations.
grants and organizations?
We could move to grants and organizations.
That part of their,
Make that part of their.
Does anybody have a link for it?
For their ad?
Yeah, I want to see the ad.
I haven't seen the ad.
I'm not paying for something I don't see.
No, I haven't seen the ad.
No.
They,
Can someone send it to us?
they sent us the ad, the mock-up. What
Was that the whale one?
Yeah.
That's what they sent?
Yeah. I
Well,
believe
it's
so.
the 10 wonders now.
Not the 10 wonders,
Still like that.
the one that Councillor Weir's referring to is, the one that was in Karen's email to council that had a whale tail in the background, and then it had a written out message to Americans. I can't find the exact, can't find the invoice, but I believe it was $2,800 would have been the share that they were from us. Sorry about you married me.
So is that.
American?
Would you like that?
No, Canadian.
So
The,
everything
the
there.
problem that I had with that was it was targeted to Digby only. I mean, the Southwest Nova Scotia is gonna benefit from that. Why not divide the cost over many, many other buckets?
I asked her that, and they said they didn't want to. They wanted to do exclusively, because I asked her to go from Gardner Freight to Capital.
Because
It
in
just
their,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah, in their messaging, they specifically mentioned the Digby area, so I think that they wanted to keep it, mentioning us, not everywhere else.
Be the first. They
But-
want to be the first to do it.
But I think your point's pretty valid.
Isn't that what the levy is for?
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we
Well, they did
discussed
apply
that.
to levy, but they haven't had a meeting yet either, right?
I cannot see how to pay for this.
that,
They asked.
the
levy
whole
for-
thing, the
No discussion.
the levy committee, quite frankly, has to be restructured, or reorganized, I
Yes.
should say. We are, tonight, there's going to be a new appointment made, I assume, by council, so we'll have our full membership back. Municipality has got to make some, one or two more appointments. So once we get those appointments, then we can have call a meeting of the levy committee and sort of to back over the mandate and why you're here type thing, and hopefully not, and also be able to communicate better with data so that they understand that, we want you to put together an application for funding, and we can't just call a committee together for every month.
New
Because
project.
there's a new project, they gotta put together at least an annual plan of what they want to do and put it together and say, this is what we need in funding,
That's right.
right? And that's not happening right now. And, the, part of that is the committee's fault in one way, but it is and it isn't, because the committee didn't have funding, and could not commit to the funding that wasn't already in the bank. Because both municipal units were very adamant that, that we weren't gonna be the bank for the levy fund. The levy funds had to be collected, set aside, and then whatever was in the pot, the levy committee would distribute.
Yeah, I feel bad because that letter was my idea, but it just went off on a tangent.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I think that the levy committee has missed their chance because it was my understanding at the time that the levy committee was gonna be set up, there would be money put into the bank through that year. They had a whole year that they could have discussed what they were going to do and not touch that money for a year so that when it became due, the year process would start over again. And it started right at the beginning. Oh, data needed money for this, data needed money for
They're still
that.
paying,
It's
yeah.
money in, money out. There was no chance for any money to build up in the bank
No,
account.
seeing they're still paying data, because I think they approved their first
Yeah.
year, and there wasn't enough money in the bank to pay their first year,
Right.
so they still owe them a couple payments, right? So, but you live and learn as you go, it's new to
Yes.
everybody, and, you know,
Yeah,
they've got some good stuff with money anyway.
Oh, yeah, no question.
yeah, for this year, I believe Data has actually put together a full year plan of what they're looking to do. And they're submitting it to the market levy, but we'll make a comment if it is in fact true that they're pre-spending funds before they're there, that whoever the reps are for the levy should make that clear that can't be how we do things going forward, that we can't future spend funds that don't exist.
You need a deadline like we have
Yeah.
here, you've got till the end of, January to get your request.
Yeah, and I think that, if I understood correctly from Karen, this year Dad did put in the request all as one. They've added a separate one for the marketing levy committee for the portion of the advertising as well. And yeah, to go back to it, I mean, the main reason for doing this is because of the strife that exists with the U.S. due to the posturing of their leader. And I do also believe it's important to remember that we are in a very tourism-focused area. We have two main industries, say anyway, which are fishery and tourism. And although $2,800 isn't something to scoff at in the grand scheme of our budget, based on what tourism brings into us, and I'd say we might be overcomplicating things to say we shouldn't be looking at being willing to spend that. Not to say we shouldn't look at the grants to organizations and say, let's have a little bit of a clawback from what they're asking for there, than what we traditionally given them, based on that, that amount. That we don't want to just give them the 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever they ask for, plus another 3 here and 3 there, and wherever they're looking for it. But it is important, and it is something that we likely needed to do in some way, shape, or form. Would have been much better if they'd come to us a little bit sooner, but they got the idea and went for the first deadline that they saw, not necessarily looking to plan it out. And part of that's, once again, we could take that back, or I would take that back to them and say that, if you're going for a short notice, we got 3 weeks and we need $3,000, it's not gonna work.
I think too, we answered Tom to the county saying that their funding is contingent on our funding. I think that our answer back to them is we'll happily pay the 30% if they pay the 70%, because representation is actually there.
Okay, so we'll take that to grants organizations.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Second. Any other questions? Anything else? No, you're good.
I'm good.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Your recreation report.
In your package. The only thing that I forgot to put in the package was.
I'm sorry.
You're still on committee.
We're still on committee.
So
We got a whole bunch.
You got a lot of committees.
We got a whole bunch coming in.
Your good stuff coming up.
Trump threw me off.
Okay, Administrative Policy 2025-03, Citizen Appointments to Committee. Commission and boards be adopted as presented.
So moved.
I second that.
Any questions on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Administrative policy 2025-04, code of conduct for citizen members appointed by council to be adopted as presented.
I'll move, administrative policy 2025-04, code of conduct for citizen members, be adopted.
Alright, seconder,
Second.
any questions? Thanks, Tom, for getting that together, that's a good idea, and nice and quick before we appoint new people. And we're also getting our past appointees decided as well.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. NS, Nova Scotia trip, funding for transit study, feasibility study be approved.
The title's misleading.
Yeah. What trip we going on?
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
That-
I believe Rob had looked into that.
Presentation, something.
I believe Rob had already looked into the details on that. It wasn't available yet.
Right.
But, I would like to move that when it is available, we apply for the funding and go ahead with feasibility study.
So you're still looking at that?
Yeah, I think if I remember right, Councilor McCormick was trying to make my job easier by saying that council would approve.
A certain threshold of money, so based on the fact that you had given a range of $35,000 to $50,000 for the average study, and this specific, grant or feasibility study would generally offer about $20,000. 15, that we agree to a sum of $20,000, and if it's above that, that we then bring that back to council if it's gonna be more.
I agree with that.
So you want to
And
amend your.
perhaps if I could suggest when Rob is looking at the details of that, if you can point us towards any other studies that have been done that we could compare to, perhaps we can find ways to save a little bit of money and do some of the legwork ourselves.
Okay, so the motion is for up to 15,000
Up to 20.
to 20.
That would bring us to the $35,000 amount that Rob said would be generally in the range of,
Okay.
unless someone wants to say more,
So
20 with the grant, or that's what you're saying?
20 in addition to the grant.
Not really.
Madam Chair, up to a maximum of 20,000.
to the maximum of 20,000.
A lot of money.
So the motion I have on the floor is motion from Councilor Foot. The council approves up to a maximum of $20,000 funding for a feasibility
NS trip.
study.
Again, this study, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, the study is going to bring us what now with this money? It's gonna help us do what again, exactly?
If it's feasible for the area, come up with costs and everything and what we have to do to get it proper transit in. It's not necessarily the route, but it will be the cost of it.
And then we pitch it to transit committee?
Well, it could depend, they could come back and say, we'll have our own little transit in town, right?
With the
And that-
feasibility study, with a positive feasibility study, it can open up other funding opportunities for us to implement transit within the town.
So if there's money for electric bus, you have to have the feasibility study for it to apply for that.
I think Town of Yarmouth managed to get a good chunk of money, if I'm not mistaken, for actual like vehicles and whatnot. So prior to doing that, they would have had to complete this feasibility study or a similar one to then be able to go to the other layers of government and say, hey, look, it'll work. Give us money and we'll make it work.
Is it 100% funded for your bus?
This would come out over 25, 26 months, right?
Yeah, because
if it's
we
done.
had, my understanding is the grant to apply for the feasibility study isn't even open yet, and won't be open until 25, 26. Right, so it will
Might be
be part of
another year.
25, 26
Wait a minute.
budget.
And those those, from what I understand, those feasibility studies are not, it doesn't happen quick, like they have to take a lot into account. If anybody wants to look, Wolfville has their microtransit feasibility study on their website.
I was at a municipality meeting when they brought that up last year, and they were talking like $60,000 to $80,000 for that study.
They're a bigger town than
They're
they
bigger.
Oh, the municipality?
That's
Three times our size.
All right, so did we get a motion, we got a second, we're all in favor?
Oh, who's second? Sorry.
Who seconded?
Oh, no.
You want-
Rick.
Whoever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right, moving on to our taxi bylaw, for the first reading of the appeal.
You need a motion to repeal?
We need a
You
motion.
get first reading.
Just
Yeah.
the first reading?
First reading. Got a motion, Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Any questions? All in favor?
Actually,
Opposed? Motion carried. Go ahead, we can discuss it a little bit more.
Absolutely. Is there any downside to repealing the taxi bylaw? Is there any locus of control or potential for,
Turning it into a Wild West.
yeah.
I don't think so, because right now, we don't have any policing on it anyway.
Okay.
Right, we charge them $25 a year to say, here's your license. And if something happens at night or on the weekend, well, our bylaw enforcement's not here anyway. And most of the stuff that we're getting concerns about are all, provincial
Standard policing.
regulations, standard policing. The only thing is, I'd like to see a notice sent out to the companies that we read the first meeting, and that we're moving forward to possibly repealing the taxi bylaw, just so they know.
Okay.
Right?
I think it coincides with the licensing year-to-year bit, and it will end pretty much.
It ends up, yes, it ends this spring, yeah, so. And I mean, is there any liability to us as far as like, we give a license and that car gets in an accident because their wheel fell off? Like, we're not safety inspectors of cars, motor vehicle inspectors, right? So, and Tom did include a thing on PBI, it was quite interesting if you read it. They're pretty much the same boat as we are, so.
Do we currently limit the number of licenses?
No.
So there's no difference there?
No,
Whether-
two years ago or a year ago, just for the last election, they asked us to reduce the amount of licenses and companies, and we decided not to. So basically, the taxi service will move into any other like business in town.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's just a competitive market.
Yeah. No different than restaurants or stores or anything else, it's all
Okay.
competitive market.
How does that affect things like Uber or Lyft and things like
It
that?
doesn't, they can come in. No different than Airbnb.
If they wanted to come in now, they could come in anyway,
They do
correct?
anyway.
They can come in anyway, right? And that's the thing, it's almost like, it was almost like the Airbnb stuff. You know, it was coming, it was here, and stuff happening anyway, so.
So how much is the cost of a taxi license?
$25 a year.
So it's not enough to worry about one way or the other. It doesn't affect us much, and they're not gonna miss it one way or the other, you know.
Quite frankly, the town will come out ahead,
Yeah.
because enforcement, the cost of us to try to enforce that bylaw, and buying, the cost of the stickers and stuff alone exceeds what we get.
And then there's the paperwork that goes
The
with it.
paperwork and all the administration that goes with it, it's just a headache, and it keeps getting worse and worse, because they're in here, they'll spend hours of our enforcement officers' time, and it's like, you know, trying to deal with things that we can't deal with under the bylaw is either provincial law or some other law or regulation, and nothing to do with the bylaw. And that basically all the bylaw is to say that we license taxis and have the right to make sure that they're a clean taxi and a well-run taxi. Well, the thing is, they come for an inspection once a year, and they could be spick and span, and 2 days later, they could be full of junk and everything else. It'd be the dirtiest thing that you ever seen, right? Because we don't have resources to go and enforce the, right? Now, the article from CBC, that was the city of Summerside, PEI, and they have had it for decades, and there was one councillor that was against repealing, and for everything that he brought up, there was a counter measure. So he's
Go through it, look at it.
it's the thing is that it'll take the liability away from the town itself on taxis and put the onus more on RCMP and that, because they still, in order to drive a taxi, whether you're licensed in Digby or you're outside of Digby operating, you still have to have a chauffeur's license, you have to have proper insurance, and your car has to be inspected and things like that. That's all provincial law. It's got nothing to do with us. And all that we did was give them a license to be able to operate within the town of Digby. Right? So they were licensed and were out in the district everywhere, but the district doesn't have a bylaw.
And there's no way you could charge enough for a license to make it worthwhile anyway.
No, we're not New York City or Toronto or even
Because they just come in from outside of town.
Yeah.
And then you have the argument, well, how come you're charging $500 now when we're only getting a sticker like you gave us before?
I see and I agree.
Yeah. Okay, but like I say, check out the CBC thing that Tom put on to us and just go through it. We still have the second reading coming up. All right, next is the approval of the funding for the Digby Services Trade Show in the amount of $1,283.
Motion approved?
Seconder?
Seconded.
Any questions? The only question is we got a grant for that now, right? Submitted. A grant's been
Yeah.
submitted for it.
Yeah, but it wouldn't, this is above,
Right, above this, yeah.
that's,
There's something else.
Keep making that.
Yeah, that's, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, too much going on. All right, so what are our strategic priorities from December, at our last committee of the whole? We come up with some stuff to bring forward for staff to review and see if we can get some of these completed this summer or this budget. The West Street sidewalk from Warwick Street to Mount Street, Walk This Town program, the marshalling yard meeting with the premier, diversion to the trail signage, facade program, streetscape program, lighthouse kiosks, which would be just a better ramp access to the kiosk to the lighthouse, crosswalk on Water Street from the marina to the parking lot, and the curling club crosswalk. Motion to put those through.
Motion.
Seconder.
The motion is setting those as priorities.
Yes.
Council's priority for the upcoming 25-26 budget.
Doesn't mean we're necessarily gonna do them all.
That's right.
Yeah, just get some pricing on it, let's see what we can do and what we can't do, right? But
What's the curling club crosswalk?
to
The
repave.
wrong crosswalk there.
It's the one in the parking lot, is it not?
Yeah, there's one too many.
Is the extension of the crosswalk comes from the elementary school over and then it goes across some parking spaces, some parking spaces.
This is fireworks. Okay, good.
That one, fireworks.
Yeah. So if I may, these projects, as they move ahead, will they be kind of divvied up, either by committee ad hoc or something, so that we're not all going up at everything together?
Yeah, so, for example, the first one, the Western sidewalk, we'll have to get a quote from, Public Works on
Yeah.
that, see the cost of it. The Walk This Town program, we have to divvy out.
We have to present that to Dark.
Yeah, the letter for the Marshall yard to the Premier, that's for Tom and I to meet with the Premier on getting that yard in our possession. The diversion trail sign, that's what you brought up at the meeting, to get the,
Yeah.
down, Victoria
Correct.
Street to bring them over on the trail instead of going around the racket. The SAVE program, start developing that actually, and then the streetscape program, we want the guy to come talk to us about, make a presentation on the streetscape, because it's a little outdated. The lighthouse, we get a quote from Public Works for the ramp, for when the councilors come to do the tourist thing in the summertime, we'll use the lighthouse as a kiosk, so all
Yeah.
their flyers and stuff will be inside the lighthouse. And I believe we also brought up at that meeting as well, was a crosswalk, people walking across from the marina now, across
Yeah.
to Jeremy Sanford's,
That'll be a Public Works,
that would be Public Works would paint that.
and the same with the
Same
current
with
club.
the current.
So like I say, then, these will be looked at individually to see who is gonna be on that action committee or ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we're just moving those forward for this budget so that we can
Also,
start.
a lot of those will just be priority directives to staff, right?
Yeah.
Some of them will maybe need a steering committee type thing, but others won't.
Okay.
Depending on them. Right, the Walk This Town program probably needs a steering committee to help put things together. Saw the streetscape program, but like kiosk, better ramp access and stuff like that can be done by staff. That
Good.
can say this is.
All right.
Do we have a second?
We have a seconder?
Sure. Someone else seconded it, but I'll second it this time.
Third. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right. Now we're moving to recreation, correct? Yes.
The only thing I didn't include in the report was that we did make a motion, and I can't remember the figures, Mike, if you would, the money that we're paying to pay off the paving of the parking lot is almost paid for. So we're taking what those payments would be after it's paid and putting it into a capital repair fund.
Okay.
So
Just
that
over
we-
$3,000
Yeah.
that we pay for the parking lot now, so.
I think it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a month, wasn't it?
Almost a month.
Yeah, a month.
Yeah.
So we put 3,000, we continue paying that 3,000 a month, we put that into the capital reserve fund, so. Cause we can afford the 3,000 easy enough.
Payments.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it
So,
now.
yeah, so we'll just continue that
And
payment.
there was a little bit of money in that fund already, but not agreed.
10,000, we have GIC for 10,000, yeah.
But even like if you got a grant from the government, you'd still have to pay a percentage, you'd still have to come up with money, so we may as well start getting some
That's
more
right.
now.
Should we look at putting some more in there, or three's good?
Well, it's what Dark can afford right
What
now.
can afford, yeah. I mean, we may up it at the budget time,
Yes.
so right now, if we're paying it,
We just saw an opportunity that was coming to an end. and
Yeah, I
thought,
remember us
hey,
talking about it a little bit there.
Hey, let's put it in there.
Might as well, I guess, that's a great idea.
The thing with the capital reserve, if Dart has a capital reserve reserve that we set up with the blessing of the two councils, right, to take that money and use it for that purpose. Then when capital project comes up and there's grant opportunities and the share that has to be paid by Dark can be covered with that without having to come to the units to spend it, right? Or to ask for, we need $5,000 each
Right.
to do this project. Well, if you've got that $10,000 in capital, you can go ahead, Dark can then go ahead and do that project, right? Instead of coming back with their hat in their hand saying they need $5,000 more from the kid, right? Type of thing. It's no different than the way we operate with our reserves. So.
We had good intentions 4 years ago to start it, because we had $10,000 left over, so we just GIC'd it, but we just didn't continue, right? So.
The only thing that they have to realize is that if it's earmarked as a capital reserve, right, that's all it can be used for. It can't be clawed back into operations. And I think that's one thing that not only Dark has to understand, but both councils have to understand as well. Right. Basically, if you earmark it for capital, that's what it has to go towards. You can't say, well, we got $50,000 in our capital reserve, and we're gonna run $50,000 operating debt, so let's take it. Well, you can't, right?
All right, any other questions for the deputy mayor on recreation? Now we'll move into waste check, Councilor Weir.
Okay, so we had a meeting on the February 11th. Just some key things in there, that, just the approval of the minutes, of course, review, expenditures they have going on there. Staff report, discussion on unsightly premises with the waste management enforcement. Curbside waste and littering were highlighted. Yeah, some regional chair updates from the NSCC regarding invasive species. They sent us out a thing on that, which is kind of cool. Plants and stuff. And policy committee extended procedure responsibility, so that EPR that Tom was talking about. New updates on the policy committee. Yeah. And then they're just drafting their budget for a review of the fiscal year budget. And their next meeting will be on April 8th.
Any questions from Councilor Weir? If not, we will move on to the joint police advisory.
Overall, I think it was a good meeting. Staff sergeant was very knowledgeable. He spoke for quite a bit of time. Provided us an even more detailed report as well, which should have attached probably some of the figures he put on there. But they gave very informative breakdown for everything in terms of policing hours, crime, when they see things, when they don't. Talked about staffing, where we currently stand. Only two current vacancies, and they're hoping to have them both filled by the end of the summer. And talked about 2 new vehicles they have. The other 2 new vehicles they're hoping to get this year. And we did make a point of bringing up the new gym, which was built, to say that no, it is not in fact a safe injection site. It is a gym for the RCMP members to be able to use. But one thing that did stand out amongst all the stats was most of the crime stats year over year were up. A lot more things, but as he said, with more officers able to go in police, you tend to end up with a higher rate of overall infractions and tickets and warnings, because if you have 2 officers on the road, then they get to have 2 officers get to. If you have 3 or 4, then you get to what 3 or 4 officers can get to. So, they did talk about potentially getting one extra street crime enforcement officer, not out of our existing budget, but paid for through a separate provincial fund. And if they're able to do that, they would then like to take one of the 2 vacancies and have them work with the existing plainclothes officer along with that street crime enforcement officer to make a 3-person street crime or drug unit for the area, and that would help not just the Digby area, but also areas, to either side of us, so, and the shore, the valley, as needed. By the way, I can see your hand.
I just, because the street crime person is undercover, has been requested repeatedly, is it falling on deaf ears at a higher level? I mean, we live here, we know how desperately we need it.
From what I took from what Grant said, part of it is that we do have one person who's in that, street crime or plainclothes right now. So there's a lot of different, I guess, grant type, spots that you can go to where you can get funding for these. You can get them, for almost free or completely free for encashment if you know what to fill out and where to go look for it. And it seems like he has a relatively good idea of how to get these things done. That's why we're getting the number of vehicles that we have.
It's awesome.
And you have to know how to work the system, I guess, in order to get what you're looking for.
Okay.
So some of the other individuals that have filled in maybe didn't have the same level of knowledge or expertise he has, or that he has gained over time to be able to do that. So, but I mean, to answer it on a more national level, I'm sure if he's truthful, or if you have him here, you're going to say, yeah, it does fall on deaf ears, because it falls into just realms of, do you know where to file this particular paperwork?
Is the focus on fentanyl because of the United States? And we're not part of that program.
Well, that could be it as well, but that's probably more recent, so that way what it'll turn into will be a street fentanyl unit.
Guy can get grants, I know that.
Yeah, no, he's good at it. He's really good at it. There were a number of other things they said for equipment and stuff too. We managed to get, what was it, 10 grand for brand new equipment for the gym.
Yeah.
We could just, emails were putting in that. He said most of them are underused, so they're, technically overfunded. So he goes in and gets rid of that, uses up that funding, so it's no longer overfunded.
And it's fully staffed now too, so
We're time along.
that might help us out with what
Yeah.
we're
Very good. Did he give any indication when that tour was going to be, or did you guys decide on the date for the tour of the headquarters in Halifax?
That was discussed, and I cannot remember. And, I don't think they had a specific date for it. He just said he'd like to take Community Plus to do it.
Yeah.
But springtime is what they were talking about.
I've been up a few years back. I tell you, it's worth going to see what services you get. It's pretty crazy what's up there, what they do. All right, thank you. Moving on to the nominating committee. Nominating committee, and a couple motions coming out of that for appointments.
Well, for the nominating committee, we met, I didn't write this report, I put a date on it so I can remember. But we discussed our 3 current vacancies and the 3 different individuals that applied for various spots. We did have overlap with one, I think with all of the 2 roles that we ended up putting a name for it. But even though there were 3 individuals, we did find one of the candidates was better than another one for one of the roles that we chose here, one of the appointments that we chose here. But I'll move the appointment of Kelly Linden-Schmidt to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for a term of 3 years.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. questions? All in favor?
What?
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And we're gonna re-advertise the last one, so the one for audit. It does not prevent the two of them from reapplying for that, but we thought in our discussion that they were better fits for the two committees that we're on.
All right.
Thank you.
We will move on to correspondence. That is from the agent. Okay, so, when I met with the Legion to discuss the crosswalk up on Main Street, and he brought this letter with him. They're fully supportive of the crosswalk at Main Street, plus they'd like to have both of these ones marked done as well on Water Street, on each side of the
Each side of Senate Ave.
Senate Ave. So, as far as the one on Main Street, going to set a meeting between myself and the Legion president and Weston Church to sit down so we can discuss that one, how it's gonna go, make sure we're all on the same page. So, I think there is one that they like the most as far as the Legion. I can't remember offhand which one it was, but one of the two. One was a soldier and one was a copier. Yeah. So in the letter, these are some of the ones that they included in the letter, and which also includes copies. So anyway, the reason for the letter coming is to find out whether council would consider doing the two crosswalks on Water Street side of the Senate Ave as well.
If we had that already talked about it, last week. We're talking about one of them.
Talked about rotating these downtown, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. I mean, could we maybe do the one on Mount Street and after Wharfrat, do a couple copies on this one closer to the Senate Ave?
I think our discussion, sorry, Mr. Mayor, but I think our discussion was that they would be worn out, so if we could paint them closer to Remembrance Day,
Right.
that's what we have.
Yeah.
We were also talking maybe about, I brought it up, I don't know that, with maybe a fishing memorial kind of offset C one on that one side. I didn't know we were gonna go both.
Yeah, I didn't know we were gonna go both either.
But I can see.
Their request would be to do. Their request would be both, yeah. I'm just wondering. And then it would set off, because if they continue to have the Remembrance Day services at the Senate Ave on there, it would sort of sets the stage or the base for it.
That's on
How often are those painted downtown?
How often?
How often do you need to do those?
So those ones there, well, the Pride one has been there, I've only done it once this year.
So would it last to 6 months, a year?
Oh, yeah. Well, the one, again, it depends on the amount of traffic that was over, right?
Yeah.
So this one has the amount of traffic.
Yeah.
At least it's at a stop sign, so it kind of slows the traffic down a little bit.
Is it any special paint, Tom, is it?
I think, to be truthful, I think it's oil-based paint, I think it's rust paint, you actually kind of lead or something to that effect.
Mr. Mayor? if we decide to do this, as well as the one up there, we also need the school one done as well. Maybe we could get the paint in a lump sum. It'd cost us less, maybe.
I think the one at the school is just a cover over, is it not? There's no one-
That's totally done.
No, that's great.
That's paint.
If you look at that one, it's been scraped off already, I was there today.
There was an offer of labor from one group.
So this one, they offer the paint, I believe.
Yeah,
They
West
both offered
Charlton
the paint.
ain't one on that street.
Yeah, they both
Right,
offered that.
that's what their
Yeah.
offer was, to do it. And so they asked council, and council said, as long as the Legion was okay and help, so
Right.
they want help with that one, plus they want help, or they want permission to be able, we'd like to see the town do that, those as well.
So perhaps a suggestion would be, we do all three this summer
Mhm.
to kick it off. So you have it up by the Legion and then have these two down here and then next year just keep the one or rotate them the next year possibly. So you're gonna do another one down by the marina as well, right?
Yeah.
That would just be a white.
Yeah, that's just gonna be the rough bars.
Yeah.
Straight.
You have a question, Councilor?
Well, Shane has his hand up first, and then I'll
Okay, go ahead.
And Mr. Chair, are we looking at the one for across from Dairy Queen? This is the same thing, right? With the lights?
No, it would just be.
The one they're speaking about is
Just
the
the,
Mount
Victoria.
Street one. The one across Victoria Street does get worn out quite quickly, so I think that this kind of paint wouldn't last very long there. So talking to Tim at the Legion, I'm pretty sure he meant just the Mount Street
Just
one.
the Mount Street one, yeah.
But, so my other question was, if this was to be changed from one thing to another, how much trouble is it to cover something like that? Do you have to paint it all black first?
Yeah, well, we have the issues of trying to black something out where the black paint or whatever we put will fade before the paint underneath fades, and
It shows.
then it shows through. We have that problem with that old handicap zone parking spot in front of the bank, in front of both banks actually, right?
Yeah.
And, because there's no signage there, but it's painted on the pavement. They both been blacked out, and the black just wears off.
Yep.
So if we're gonna paint something, and when we had the Pride sidewalk or crosswalk from Scotiabank to Marshall's, it was when we had repaved that section, allowed us to be able to change it, so.
Yeah.
You're almost gonna have to have it sprayed, spray paint black in order to change it.
The only difference with the Legion one would be red and white, right? And then-
According to the diagram I saw there with the white bars with just red poppies, that would be similar to a regular crosswalk. That wouldn't be too bad, would it? But
No, that's okay.
I guess the problem I see is that if it's a problem repainting over them, the decision has to be made, are we gonna put it there and keep it there?
The one up at the school, which is Every Life Matters,
Yeah.
Every Child Matters, or
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
Every Child Matters.
Yeah.
That one has been repainted every year.
Yeah.
We just repainted it every
So you
year.
might have to designate
Yeah.
these crosswalks to be permanent Legion crosswalks.
Pretty, I would suggest that.
Yeah.
And that way, because there are other crosswalks in town, like that could.
So for the time being then, like if you want it to look good for Remembrance Day, if you want it to look good for Remembrance Day, could you paint the white bars? And then in September, then you repaint the white bars with the poppies at that time?
I mean, I would say that they're not, probably won't be painted until probably August or September.
Okay.
Right, I would say.
So it'd be all done.
That way they could be done, and, like I said, it depends on the amount of traffic that does go over. But, I mean, you have to paint your crosswalks every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, as long as it's not red, white, down.
Yeah.
Then you're okay just repainting the white and putting the poppies on that.
Yeah.
Whereas up there, I think it's red, white with the soldier on it.
Yeah, that one would probably wear more.
Right.
So perhaps if the poppies were somewhere on the white, every time you paint the white, you have a chance to put your poppy back in the same place. Because I don't think the poppies would show very well on the black.
No, you have to put on the white for sure.
Yeah.
But
So I
that's an easy cover.
Yeah, that becomes a design issue. I was more wondering about if you were willing to make this basically a permanent Legion 2 crosswalks. Because once you start it, it's hard to change it.
Question.
Just a point about the poppy, I think the poppy you'll find is a sacred symbol as far as the Legion is concerned, and I wouldn't be too sure that they would want someone walking on poppy.
I think they approved both
Did
designs.
they approve
Yeah.
the poppy?
I did, I brought that up, and
Did you?
he sort of, he said, how did he answer that? It wasn't, yeah, you're right. He more or less said, it depends, I guess that's right. It depends on the design and how it's designed.
I just don't want a backlash to the town.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I explained to him, that's why we want them involved with what actually goes down on the crosswalks. And if they make the decision as the Legion, then, if people have any issues with it, then the issue lays with it was the Legion's decision, it wasn't town's decision, it wasn't town council's decision, it wasn't public works' decision, it would have been the Legion's decision. This is what we want to see.
Fair enough.
So downtown, we are gonna decide something different?
No, they would help with the design as well, right?
So I guess
That's what this letter is for them to help, they want to participate, and they want to collaborate with the town, and during the meeting, there's a lot of different things that he is the president wants to see happen, and more collaboration with the town on different things, including the use of their hall for town events or town things. One thing that he did bring up, and I told him that he should put it in writing. He brought up a bit of levy, whether like a New Year's levy, and to have it they would have it at the Legion, but it would be sponsored somewhat by the town. Right? Instead of us having they would put on a levy, but it would be the town's levy put on by the Legion.
He's the new president, right?
He's the new president. It seems like he's done it how, but.
Could you ask him maybe next time you're speaking to him, what happened to the banner campaign? I look forward to our town being flooded by posters of our, you know, Rick?
I was talking to him last Friday. They are interested. He wants to get the banner campaign going earlier this year. Their issue has been it's been left late each year, and then if they're lucky, if they get one or two new banners. This year he would like to get it going in the spring. My suggestion to him was get as many lined up as you can over the summer while the tourists are here.
Yeah.
And then by September, there'd be a group of banners, and they could all be printed at once and put up. So that's where they stand with that. They would like to do more. And I think, I don't know how many poles we have that are banner capable at the moment. But I think at some point he'll have to know if there's a limit to how many they can put up.
Okay, so we're just gonna go back here a little bit and
Yep.
just decide whether we want the 3 this year.
Yeah.
or
Can I put a motion in for that?
stick with the 1.
Right.
So
Motion in for 3?
3.
I like it.
Seconder.
Seconded.
I'll second it.
Any other questions on it? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Tom. Okay. Moving into new business, request for the tractor replacement.
Correct replacement.
Okay. So the recommendation is that, council approve the purchase of one Kubota 60 horsepower tractor and attachment from Nova International Limited at a cost of $84,774.61, including HST, to be funded from the 2024-25 capital budget. So, background is it was the canoe procurement process was used to obtain the RFP, and tractor is a piece of equipment that is used year-round and has many different uses. We use it for grading of dirt roads, grading of trails, grass side mowing, ditch side mowing, landscaping, bush hogging over at the wastewater treatment plant in Smith's Cove, and our vacant lots, plowing parking lots, plowing sidewalks. The Water Commission and the municipality are billed for usage of the tractor and operated by an hourly rate to perform the following duties: plowing well road and lake roads, bush hogging well roads and lake roads, and plowing the Conway sidewalk. So the new Mountain Street sidewalk is now being plowed with the tractor because it is 2 meters wide. And as we upgrade and add additional sidewalks, we intend to make them all 2 meters wide so the tractor can plow them. It is much faster and more cost effective. So basically, what that means is that we could probably, as we increase the use on sidewalks of the tractor, we can free up one of the skid steers and be able to declare it surplus and only need 1 skid steer instead of 2. So we'd have 1 skid steer, 1 tractor, and so that would be a cost of down the road, not having to replace 2 skid steers. So the 24-25 capital budget was $75,000. The new price for the 60 horsepower was $84,774, including tax. Cost of our HST rebate after our rebate is $76,877. There is one attachment, which was a snow blade that was not included in the RFP trade. It's too big for, when it was purchased, it was actually ended up being too big for the current tractor that we have, and it's also too big for the new tractor. So we've declared surplus and currently am negotiating a price with for between 25 and 3,000. So when you add that on, we'll be within the budget, within 7,500 budget.
Perfect. Any questions for Tom on that? Motion?
Price of $84,000.
I guess it's trade value, I guess.
Yeah, So that's the net after the trade-in.
Okay.
Yeah. This is 100 and some odd, it's over 100,000.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was,
Well, we need it.
yeah, it was 244,000 including tax, and they allowed us 26,000 for 50 including tax for the other tractor. Now the other tractor has had some issues. From practically when it was 2 years old, we had to put a new transmission in it and stuff, and it had been rolled in the ditch once or twice, and everything, so, you know, and then it's been, just lately, we just spent some money to keep it running. Because, I think it was to do with transmission and filters or valves and stuff with the hydrostatic transmission.
Okay, can we get a motion for the tractor?
I'll move that we, make the purchase for RFP Town Day B 2025-01 for the supply of one tractor and attachments.
Second?
Second that?
Any other questions?
What are the attachments for getting besides the flat weight? Anything?
What are we getting? This was, I believe we're getting the,
So I'm assuming the bush hog, the,
everything
Everything
that
else
was,
is-
we were trading, we're getting back in brand new.
okay,
Nice grader.
We'll get the grader back, the bush hog, and, and I think snow blower,
okay.
Nice.
right?
Well,
The
that's
only
good.
thing that we're not gonna get is a blade, right?
So the
So,
unit for salting and sanding on that system.
well, that unit is separate anyway, because, we buy that separately, because we can, it's an e-poke, and we can haul that on the
Anything.
skid steers
Yeah.
as well, so, right?
Good stuff.
So basically, anybody knows what the cost of attachments and stuff for tractors are,
Jeez.
you know, it's,
I think you're doing quite well getting 26,000 for your old one.
15-year-old tractor.
Yeah, if you
Keep
get,
going.
you can get 15 years out of a machine like that, still pull back 26,000, because I imagine at the time you probably only paid 50 or 60,000 for it.
yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was, you know,
Prices have really gone up since then.
and,
Get the trade rate.
Well, our friend to the south today proposed a 200% tariff on John Deere tractors.
Tesla
Leaving the state?
Tesla must be coming over the track.
That's good for business.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the grant coordinator, full-time position.
okay.
Ask him to leave the room.
You can take minutes.
You got the pink paper?
He doesn't have that hat on at the moment.
That's right. I'll vote against it, I give it back.
So, the recommendation is that the grant coordinator position become a full-time position effective April 1st, 2025. With a salary range of $50,779 to $57,703. In case anybody's wondering what the salary, that is the salary range of, same salary range as the EA and law enforcement. Background, the position is currently a 1-year term position with the current end date of April 15th, 2025. This position reports directly to the CAO. The grant coordinator's role was presented to council for approval in January of 2024. CAO designed the role to have 3 specific responsibilities in the workload. One is grant administration, providing leadership and guidance in identifying, securing, and managing funding opportunities for council strategic priorities and initiatives in collaboration with stakeholders and staff. The CAO assigns the grant coordinator tasks for these priorities and initiatives, which include researching, applying, and reporting on successful grant applications. The administration of the grant coordinator also covers the duties of the executive assistant as directed by the CAO, customer service, meeting minutes, document filing, answering the phone, and social media communication support. Special project, this includes the overall document management and organization of the Town of Digby website, supporting the regional emergency management structure as the public information officer, supporting the internal and external communication to help keep the residents of the Town of Digby informed. And there's also the support and management of special town hosted events and efforts with the executive assistant. CAO conducted a performance evaluation on the current incumbent, which reveals the following. The incumbent has developed strong knowledge and technical skills. He has secured funding from 12 grant applications and 14 of the 14 he had written in the 10 months of his employment. He takes the initiative to stay informed on funding opportunities and has built strong relationships with program managers and contacts. His proactive approach meets expectations and contributes to the town's growth and funding success. He effectively managed all aspects of his role by successfully executing grant applications and related tasks. He takes initiative to understanding funding requirements, ensuring compliance and alignment with organizational goals. He is proactive in taking on new responsibilities and adept into evolving priorities, demonstrating both confidence and commitment to his role. He is actively contributes to the collective work environment by supporting both administrative and finance functions, which ensure smooth operations and excellent customer service. He proactively involves teammates in key grant discussions, keeps them informed throughout the application process, and seeks their input when needed. He is able to coordinate across departments by openly sharing information and fosters teamwork in ensuring goals are met efficiently and effectively. He takes an organized and proactive approach in conducting his tasks, consistently staying ahead of grant deadlines and ensuring all submissions are completed efficiently. He effectively prioritizes tasks, optimizing time and resources to support goals set out by the CAO. His strong organizational skills have enhanced his own performance, but they have influenced other co-workers. His commitment to structure and planning shows results and success. He consistently produces professional, accurate, and high-quality work. His proposals require minimal corrections or additions when reviewed by a supervisor, which demonstrates his attention to detail and understanding of the grant application requirements. His maintenance of a high standard of excellence contributes to successful outcomes. He can handle appropriate volume of work for his role and ensures that all tasks are completed efficiently and meets all deadline requirements. His workload is influenced by funding priorities of council, and he stays prepared to act quickly when required as priorities change. Although he does not have any subordinate staff, he leads by example by demonstrating a strong work ethic, professionalism, and a commitment to the values and mission of the town of Digby. He actively seeks opportunities for improvement in his work, always striving to refine his skills and contribute positively to the team. Often seeks guidance from the supervisor to ensure he is modeling the proper ethical standards and work practices for the position. He was focused from the start on verifying the accuracy of his work and sought confirmation that he was on the right track. A trust has developed between him and the supervisor, which has enabled him to increasingly take the initiative to problem solve and make decisions independently. He gathers relevant information, analyzes and formulates action plans to resolve issues efficiently. He remains open and willing to learn additional duties as required. His role has become busier and more focused on grant management. However, he is always eager to expand his knowledge and contribute when required. He shows initiative by identifying potential needs and starting plans of actions to support the office of the CAO. He often takes small requests or ideas and follows through on them. He is proactive in getting ahead of tasks, but always checks with the supervisor to ensure that it meets expectations and supports the broader goals of the town. He has exceptional communication skills. He prioritizes clear, concise communication, both in verbal and written formats, ensuring that ideas and issues are presented logically and factual. His proactive communication style ensures that all stakeholders are informed and that tasks move forward. He consistently meets expectations for reliability, performing his duties effectively during routine and unexpected circumstances. He prioritizes a healthy work-life balance and may not regularly put in extra hours. However, his work is completed on time and to a high standard and is always there if additional hours are required by the supervisor. Maintaining a balanced approach, he can stay focused and productive during working hours that ensures reliable performance without compromising his personal well-being. In addition to his role as grant coordinator, he takes on administrative support duties such as preparing minutes, updating the town website and Facebook page, and is a member of the remote ECC team. He applies the same level of professionalism, attention to detail, and commitment to these additional competencies that he did in his main role, that brings to his main role. So as his direct supervisor, I'm very pleased with his performance over the last 10 months. He's constantly kept me informed on all his tasks and status of all grant applications. He can effectively work on his own and does not need to be closely managed by a supervisor. He has excellent communication skills that I'm hoping could rub off on other members of my staff. He is an excellent addition to the staff, not only within the office of the CAO, but with finance and bylaw as well. He is a team player and is always willing to help other staff members. He knows his lane and stays within it. which is a huge bonus to the position. He has built on the town's previous experience of grant approvals and has secured well over $1 million in funding approvals, which has proven not only is the position warranted, but also the right candidate was chosen to fill the position. His communication skills will be very complementary to council's future communication strategy.
Yeah, but can't cook.
Anything else?
I have one question, Tom, just only because in your first paragraph, you want to make it effective April 1st. It's not an April Fool's joke, is it?
No.
No.
Can we make it?
It's just because of the start of the fiscal year.
You're not like Trump then.
Yeah. Just
All right, any questions for Tom? Questions for Rob?
Great job, Rob.
Great job, Rob.
One question for Tom, I think in this it's stating making the grant, role, permanent or full-time. That wouldn't preclude us in the future from, if Grant himself, or whatever he calls his name otherwise, if he ever leaves us, which I'm sure we can just tether him to a desk, but should he escape his tethers and leave us and go somewhere else, in the future, would we still be able to do a 1 or 2 year contract? Should we hire someone new?
any position within the town administration is at the leave of council.
Okay.
Right? Just because somebody has a full-time position today doesn't mean that if the priorities of council and of the town change, that you wouldn't restructure. Because, I sort of anticipated to get that question, because the thing is that I'm not recommending it be a full-time position, right? That way, hopefully, we can retain this person,
Yes, understood completely with respect to our current grant coordinator.
right?
Right.
And,
What was there?
yeah, and to be perfectly frank, we didn't, the previous person that we tried this experiment with just didn't work. We did not have the right person. And things went south severely. And I'm very, very pleased that this kick at the can was a lot better, a lot more successful, and more what we need is an extra staff person for this. But at the end of the day, I mean, you could say that council could decide that they no longer want a CEO, right? No, but that's true. Other councils have said, no, we don't need a CEO, we're going back to a clerk treasurer system, and we're gonna be the CEO, right? And they've done it, and, they've run it for a couple of years, and said, no, we need a CEO. So, but, that's the thing. No, just because it's a full-time position doesn't mean that it's here forever, right? Hope that it can be forever, but it's not carved in stone. No position is carved in stone.
Those sound good, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, and that was the reason for my question, Mr. CEO, was essentially, I know the fit for the previous individual that was in this role wasn't quite the same as what the current one is, and should he ever grow too big for his britches and decide he wants to be a grant coordinator for, Yarmouth or, Wolfville or Halifax, then, if we ever have to replace him, just wanna make sure that we still have that, the ability to.
And I believe that, and that's one of the reasons that I'm so strongly recommending is because I don't want to lose this individual.
this individual has fit into this organization so well and doing what we want him to do, we collectively want him to do, and he has success. He got us grant money. Some of it was, we got that before last year. Well, thing is, he still had to do and get it each and every year. You still got to go through. And some of the things and one of the items that we'll be talking about in camera will be another testament to his abilities.
Move, and I'm just, you can motion all you can do it. Well, I just wanted to ask Rob how he likes it here.
Well, other than Tom, I mean, it's great.
Wow.
I actually,
The mayor was Rob.
Yeah, are you liking it here?
I really do. The staff is really great, and there's a real pull when we've got to get something done, which is incredibly helpful because you can go to any. I've never gone to anybody and they say, "I don't have time. I'm not going to let you know." I mean, we have a historian, tax clerk, can ask her anything because a lot of what I do in my writings is I got to have background, and I don't know, not being from here. So, and working for Tom, it's very easy to be in your lane when you get clear direction. I'm not sure if you all understand how good that man is at what he does. It's phenomenal because I know exactly what I'm doing, and he gives me rope. I haven't hung myself yet, but he gives you the rope to do it, and he's not hanging over your shoulder, which is incredibly important when you're doing these kinds of things. Like I say, writing 62-page grants, I couldn't do that with somebody standing over my shoulder telling me where to put the periods and those kinds of things. So it's good.
It's great, and good for you. And I really appreciate meeting you and working with you as well. You're doing great.
Thanks.
Other than that, if you want, go for it.
Sure, I'll make the motion that we make the role for the grant coordinator a permanent full-time position.
I'd love to second it. Have a seconder? Any other questions?
Hold back 50% of his pay for the first year.
We won't guarantee losing that. Well, you could then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Bob.
Congratulations, Rob.
Congratulations, Rob. Yeah.
Thank you.
My expectations just went up.
Going in camera.
Yeah.
All
Talk
right,
to you in camera.
let's move to the NSFM support motion. Tom and Deputy Mayor attended.
Okay,
Last week.
so basically, that one, there was, the meeting was mainly in, the deputy mayor can step in any time, but, it was surrounding some of the proposed legislation that is going through the House that, is probably negatively going to affect, municipalities across this province. And so the NSFM has been at the legislature practically every day, following what's going on. And sometimes they have to move fast, or they should move fast. And that was one of the things they had the mayors and wardens and CAOs conference call that night, or meeting, Zoom meeting, and to discuss what they heard and what they didn't like and bring it to everybody's attention. Everybody seemed to think that we need we need to do, yes, they need to be at the table, we need to be aggressive and things like that. And then some of the mayors and wardens were saying, well, I don't really, we got talking about sending letters to the premier and to ministers and stuff like that. And some of the units were saying, well, I don't have time, my council isn't gonna meet for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, and I
don't feel I have the authority to, give NSFM blessings of my council, right? So, that basically, look,
It's really everything that they're talking about and that you read in the news, it's true. I mean, they're trying to undermine the relationship that the province has with the towns and municipalities by removing a lot of the restrictions that now exist. And I'll share with you a letter that I wrote the day after to Mayor Mitchell from Bridgewater, who's the vice chair of NSFM. Morning, Mayor Mitchell. I was on a conference call last night representing Mayor Bartlett, who was away. My comments in no way represent our mayor or our council, but I felt compelled to reach out to you and express my concerns as town council, deputy mayor, and a member of NSFM. I appreciate the approach that you and Mayor Mood have taken on behalf of NSFM by expressing our collective disappointment and concern at the approach and tone of the provincial government. Becoming emotionally attached to the issue at hand comes easily to all of us because we are all passionate about our province, our freedoms, and our democracy. Emotions aside, and as the saying goes, we must hope for the best and plan for the worst. This brings me to the crux of why I'm writing to you today. I sincerely hope that NSFM's talks with the government and its ministers will bear fruit, and the direct assault on our relationship will be halted. However, as we all know, that the vast number of seats in the government holds is in fact a bully. Therefore, I would like to propose two ideas to you for your consideration. Number one, this is a grassroots fight that we must approach it as one by appealing to the government's backbenchers. And at the current time, there are more backbenchers than there are anything else. There are a lot of them. NSFM should continue to draft their letter on behalf of every town and municipality in the province. This letter should be presented directly to each council and give to their corresponding MLA, including the ministers and the premier by definition. Perhaps even by calling each MLA to come to council chambers. I know the logistics of this might prove impossible, but certainly the premier and each government minister as a minimum. Number two, while this process continues, we must make plans for each mayor, warden, and council member to attend the House and represent ourselves in the gallery of the legislature. This specific day and sitting could be coordinated, but to my knowledge in the history of this province, that has never happened. It would send an unmistakable message to the province that the level of government closest to the people will not stand for any more erosion of our democracy. People say that our towns, villages, and cities are children of the provincial government. Well, from time to time, every family has disagreements and disputes, and our relationship is no exception. It's the natural order of things and the way we grow and change, but we must all help each other now by standing up to our own domestic bullying and simply saying no.
good letter.
Very nice.
Very good.
So he did write me back, and he's trying to, with Mayor Mood, you'll hear more about it later, they're trying to organize a day of action,
Okay.
which I think will include a show at the legislature.
Very good.
Any more bad things?
So, this NSM support motion was first put by East Hants. And so the warden of East Hants took that to her council, and then their CAO, Kim, sent it out to all CAOs. That this is what my council has done, and recommends that maybe all the rest of the council sort of do that. It gives, in our case, it will give the mayor some autonomy to sign letters expressing support without necessarily having to do so at a requesting support or permission at a council meeting. It's mainly just because of sometimes things come up when you're in between meetings, and if the council gives the mayor support and the approval to say, I mean, if it's something that the mayor knows that council would never agree to, he's not going to sign it, or I would think he wouldn't sign it. right? This would be something that, so basically it's just, support municipal autonomy, strong decision-making, and municipal engagement. So that's why I brought that motion forward to see whether, this council wanted to.
So it's all, Fred, just so you drive the point home here, it's because the government has a supermajority.
Yeah.
They can, because they have 2/3, basically, they can do whatever they want. We've seen it already when they've already allowed exploration on private property.
Yeah.
Right, they've used little known clauses in government laws to actually pull those, things up.
What I see is that the NSFM is kind of toothless unless they have the support of all the mayors and all the councils. And if the mayor has to run to everybody else all the time, they may miss an opportunity to voice the support, and NSFM just want to miss the opportunity to call the government to account.
Yep.
So
basically what this is, if they have a mayors and wardens and other mayors and wardens in SFM thing, and they say, in order to do this, we need to be writing a letter on behalf of the municipal units, and Mike can say, yes, I have the authority of council to be able to sign, be a signature on any letter, or to write a letter, right? It's just basically, it's giving them the authority, but it doesn't give him, total authority, you know what I'm saying?
Speeds the process up.
Yeah.
And wait 3 weeks in between the meeting to make a decision, right?
Because, the way that our current premier is moving, he's moving like wildfire, and, he wants it, because he wants this sitting of the legislature to be quick and short and sweet, and get it over with, and get this, and then it's gonna be too late, because the damage is gonna be done, right? We need somebody, and that's what we pay dues for the NSFM, to have staff and to have our board of directors speak on behalf of all units, right?
They were even talking about, there's a clause right now that if the provincial government wants to do something that's going to cost us money, they have to give us so much time notice, right? That's talk, they want to do away with that.
they want to do away with that.
So all of a sudden, we've got to come up with money out of nowhere because they want to make a change. If for instance, we have a crosswalk that goes across Sydney Street, but the province says, oh, well, we want to put a walking trail in there, so you're going to have to rip up your crosswalk at your own expense. I mean, those are the kind of things.
Yeah, those are the
that they're
things
talking about.
they're talking about, coming and saying, no, we're gonna do this, and,
You're going to pay for it.
Right.
well, you're gonna pay for it, or if your infrastructure is in the way, you're gonna have to move it, right? And, crosswalk is.
Or we might withhold it from the money we give you for the things.
Yeah.
That was the other hammer there, or whatever, Ed.
I mean, in the same vein, would it be possible that they decide one day, and I know recently they've changed it to take away the cost for us with respect to housing, but might they just walk up one day and say, Mr. Mayor, we need to speak to you, and you're now responsible for the entirety of the bill for every public housing project that is in your town.
Yes.
That's what I would be afraid of, is something like that, that's, hey,
And-
we put it there, you guys want it, it's yours.
Because they had done that before. Because they had at one time, the provincial government, I can't remember what party was in, but the provincial government said, we're gonna look after housing, and, they did for 1 year. The next year, they said, we can't afford to do that, so now you're gonna be billed. We're gonna renege on that deal, right? So, anything that they do, that's why the NSFM stepped up and said, and it's because of the NSFM that the rule where they
could not do anything that was gonna cost municipal unit money, extra money, without giving that year's notice. That was a product of the NSFM, and right? And now they're, Deputy Mayor Sonia says, they could say, that's one of the things we don't wanna do anymore, we don't wanna, have to wait for a year. So,
All right, well, thank you for attending, gentlemen, that's great. And you need a motion for that?
so,
Sorry, Tom.
no,
So I'll second that.
Any further questions?
Should wait for Rob to come back and actually get the,
Yes. I think somebody came in. Let's check.
Yeah, they did that to us before on housing, because we would just get the bill, we'd have to pay it, and then we try to get a committee member, like they were all citizen appointed, it wasn't council, and they weren't even allowed to bring the budget back to us to see what we could put in our budget to pay for it, they weren't allowed to bring the budget. So we lost like 2 or 3 one year on the committee members, like, no one would do it, because they weren't allowed to say anything. They just went and signed up.
Cleaner.
The motion was made by Deputy Mayor Sonia, second by Councilor McCormick.
Thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Diane Accent. Guess that's on vacation, I only got the email. But I did send it to you if you had a chance to go over it. So they're looking for the 3rd annual Ukrainian Easter event. And they're looking for some support from the town and municipality. They're suggesting rental of the Legion, I believe, which is $100, or 2 gift certificates towards the Pansky Egg for $100. So it's just, they're just asking for $100 basically. If he has to reach for participants, yeah, they get that. And cover the cost of any refreshments, bottled juice, maybe even table snacks for the public. So a couple $100 in other words, is all we're looking for. And she said she put her names on the poster already. She knows it was premature, but she has to get the posters out the first week of April. April says here.
It might just be, if the event's the first week of April, I assume she probably may have meant the first week of March.
Yeah, I was thinking she probably did. What would you like to do with this?
plus the gentleman,
$200 max.
She wants some pop and
so the Legion that's in town.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
Good motion.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we do a contribution of $200 to help cover the rental of the Legion and some beverage.
Snacks?
Additional costs, yeah.
I'll second that, $200.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. So we're now moving into camera. Nancy, thank you for coming out. Anything you would like to say before you leave?
Just regarding this executive director position, it's kind of like a big ask. But what we wanted was to have a working group, at least one meeting to see if a working group makes sense with the municipal council and with a member of the CEO of the municipal council and councillor and also the same from here, CAO and councillor, to have an initial meeting and just really understand what this position would be and what it could do, because it really bridges, what I had mentioned in our presentation, housing development in Conway, but there are also shelter in Digby, things like that, like a whole bunch of things. So I was just thinking that the municipal council actually passed a motion to say that they would, their CAO and Joan Ross, they appointed Joan Ross to be on this committee. And if you could discuss that, we could do that, have a meeting in 2 weeks maybe.
Okay, perfect.
An initial meeting to see if this makes sense to go ahead, and then you can bring it back to council. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Just wanted to give some context.
Yep, perfect, great, thank you.
Thank
See you Wednesday. See you Wednesday.
Yes.
Thanks, Nancy.
By the way,
They stand up first.
Well, it's really infuriating when you get a government that just thinks they can do whatever they want.
It's ridiculous. I know the mining thing is huge right now. This is,
Imagine having a piece of property and suddenly, oh yeah, I'm gonna destroy it and mine it, there's nothing to do with it.
mine's involved with that, right? So,
I'm worried about fracking.
Yes?
Doesn't it always start?
The dog jumped around all night long.
Still creep?
Oh, yeah. We were critical of the,
you know, good now, Ron?
yeah, our dog's still staying straight. Your dog can't.
But I mean, stress on shoulders a little bit. I bet.
Yeah, when you're the age I am and you're on a term contract, it can mess with your brain a little bit. So that's not anybody's, like, that's not anybody's.
You've been satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been satisfied.
That's
I couldn't believe Tom read that whole thing.
me either.
I'm like, I was like, you had me a hello.
Is it very
He's sleeping on in his chair.
Barb had a late shift tonight.
Huh?
Barb had a late shift
I
tonight.
don't work anymore, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Tell me that.
They started running in the show.
Up there, yeah. I mean, who cares? No, Steve. Yeah. Pretty strange, got the more, so what am I gonna do today?
Wait, but do you know any more like free sub coupons you can give us before?
Yeah.
Oh,
Too late now.
Well, I figured maybe you took like a couple years to put up the house.
No.
I think he might be
That
done.
still would have been my money.
Oh.
Then she'd get it.
He probably doesn't want to see us up again.
They're both out poles.
I actually went downstairs because I heard the door. I didn't.
Right.
It's a cleaner, right?
All right, we're in the camera, good motion going